Is democracy truly by the people, for the people? This question lingers in the minds of many, especially when we look at the democratic state of affairs in India. Democracy, by definition, is a system where the power rests in the hands of the people. They are the ones who elect representatives to make decisions on their behalf, making them the real VIPs. But often we see a different narrative unfold. Elected representatives are perceived as VIPs, and the common citizens, the real power holders, feel overlooked. This creates a gap, a disconnect, that seems to undermine the very principle of democracy. It's like being at a concert where the audience is ignored while the spotlight stays solely on the performers. But let's not forget, in a democracy, it's the citizens who hold the power. The stage is theirs, and the elected representatives are there to perform their symphony. But what hurdles stand in the way of this ideal, you might ask? Well, let's dive into that. The first challenge we face is the constraints of limited options. Just imagine walking into a store filled with a plethora of brands, but you only have two choices. That's how our electoral process feels sometimes. Dominated by the big political parties, our elections often present us with limited options, making the choice a challenging task. This monopoly of power often leaves us feeling like we're choosing between the lesser of two evils, rather than the best of the best. The second challenge is the unequal treatment of elected leaders and citizens. Picture this. Your boss has a swanky office with a view, while you're cramped in a shared workspace. Doesn't feel great, does it? This is what our democracy can feel like sometimes. Elected leaders are often treated like VIPs, creating a divide between them and the citizens they're meant to serve. This VIP culture not only distances our representatives from us, but it also makes us, the citizens, feel less important, less valued. These challenges are just the tip of the iceberg. There are many more issues that need to be addressed to ensure our democracy functions as it should. However, recognizing these problems is the first step towards solving them. And while these challenges may seem daunting, remember, every problem has a solution. So what's the solution here? Well, it's not as complicated as you might think. It starts with us, the citizens, demanding change and holding our elected representatives accountable. It involves moving away from the VIP culture and treating everyone equally, irrespective of their position or power. And most importantly, it involves making our democracy more inclusive, where every voice is heard and every vote counts. These challenges hinder the true essence of democracy. But remember, democracy is a process, not a destination. And as we continue to strive for a more inclusive and equitable society, we can overcome these challenges and make our democracy truly representative of its people. After all, in a democracy, it's the people who hold the power. How can we shift the focus back to the people? This is the question we must ask ourselves as we envision a truly democratic society. We must start by treating the citizens as the real VIPs. Just as customers direct managers about what they want, citizens shape the nation. They are the ones who elect leaders. They are the ones who drive change. Next, politicians must prioritize citizens' needs. They should be like waiters, serving the citizens, attending to their needs before their own. They should remember that they are in their positions to serve the people, not to rule them. We must also ensure that every citizen has the opportunity to voice their opinion, to contribute to the decision-making process. We must ensure that every vote counts, that every voice matters. By putting people first, we can begin to reclaim our democracy. By making these changes, we can ensure that our democracy truly represents the will of the people. Where does the lifeblood of our nation's finance come from? It's the hard-working citizens, of course. Their taxes fuel the engine of our country, propelling us forward. Every rupee paid in tax is a citizen's contribution to progress, a testament to their importance. However, there's a disconnect. The voices of these vital contributors are often overlooked in budgetary decisions. It's like hosting a family dinner but not asking your family what they'd like to eat. This is not in line with the spirit of democracy. Everyone should have a seat at the table. Our nation's finances shouldn't be an enigma wrapped in bureaucracy. Instead, it should be a collective effort, with every citizen having a voice. After all, It's their hard-earned money that's being put to use. So, let's foster a more democratic approach to finance, one where every citizen is a stakeholder. Every citizen should have a say in the decisions that shape our economy. What changes can we make to create a more balanced democracy? First and foremost, we need to ensure fair elections for everyone. Think of it as a game where each player gets a turn. No player should be allowed to monopolize the game. Similarly, in our democracy, every party, regardless of its size, should have an equal chance to present their ideas and compete in the elections. This will give citizens a wider choice and make the democratic process more vibrant and inclusive. Secondly, we need to set term limits for politicians. Just as a game has a time limit to ensure each player gets an opportunity, politicians should not hold power indefinitely. This will prevent the concentration of power in a few hands and will encourage fresh ideas and perspectives. Next, let's talk about the smarter use of funds. The money collected from citizens in the form of taxes should be used responsibly and effectively. Imagine you've saved money for a gym membership to improve your health. You wouldn't want to waste it on junk food, would you? Similarly, politicians should spend less on their benefits and more on improving the country. This would include investing in education, healthcare, and infrastructure, which are crucial for the well-being and progress of the nation. Lastly, we need to save money by cutting down on extravagances. Think of it as carpooling to save fuel. Instead of politicians traveling in large convoys, they could opt for more modest and cost-effective modes of transport. This prudent use of resources would not only save money, but also send a strong message to the citizens that their leaders are conscious of their responsibility. By implementing these changes, we can create a more balanced, people-focused democracy. Remember, the power of a democracy lies in the hands of its citizens. By making these transformations, we can ensure that power truly belongs to the people, leading to a more equitable and prosperous nation. So, what does a true democracy look like? It's a place where the power truly lies in the hands of the citizens, where politicians serve, not rule. It's a system that embraces equality, offering equal opportunities for all in elections and setting term limits for those in power. It's a nation that wisely uses its wealth for the betterment of its people, not just its leaders. By returning power to the people, we can build a better nation where everyone's voice matters.